started putting out reviews about the game on Steam, just horrible reviews saying the game was unoptimized, it ran terrible. But some were, we were hopeful and thinking, okay, maybe the day one patch isn't out yet. Maybe that's why it's locked at 30 frames. There's stuttering, there's all these frame rate dips, there's crashing. Maybe it's because the day one patch isn't out yet. Nope. Time passed. Any day one patch that was supposed to be installed is definitely installed. The game is accessible to everybody, and pretty much everybody is saying the game runs horrible. People have dual 980 Ti's and Titans and stuff, and the game is still running horribly. There's even missing graphical settings in the menu. Right now, the temporary solution to get 60 frames is to go in manually into the file and change the lock 30 to 60, but that's always a problem because it always usually makes the game unstable because it's not done by the developer. Now in some other games, when you have to do that, the game actually is stable or at least playable. In Batman Arkham Knight, when you change the user setting to 60, it's still unplayable. The other small tweak you can do is in the graphical settings, change it to borderless window mode, which allows, for some reason, I ran into a problem where I couldn't stream the game. OBS was not detecting the game for me to stream it. But when I put it in borderless window mode, then it detected the game, and the game ran slightly better. Maybe a few frames, still stuttering, still frame rate drops all over the place. The game is unplayable. Now, for the alarming details that we found out. So, this pretty much seems to be absolutely true, that the game was not done by Rocksteady. That's definitely true. We know that. It was done by a developer. They outsourced it to a developer. I believe it's Iron Galaxy. And they've worked on a few other games, I think a few other ports. But yeah, they're pretty incompetent, as we can evidently see. And here's the problem with, this is not uncommon that sometimes the PC port is outsourced. That's not necessarily the problem. Is when you outsource it to these people that don't know what they're doing and don't have any quality in their job. So apparently only a number of 12 people actually worked on the PC version of Batman Arkham Knight. 12 people. That's the first alarming news we learned. The second thing we learned is not only did only 12 people work on it, apparently they only had 2 months to work on the PC version. 8 weeks. 12 people working on a PC version of a game for 8 weeks. That is ridiculous. Now, we're not experts, right? None of us are game developers, none of us are in the industry, but we don't have to be based on what we see and what we know, and evidently in this case, we kind of can gauge and know the time it would take for a developer to properly make a PC version of a game or a version of a game for any platform. We know that from the things we learn, we read. You don't have to be a developer. The information is out there. We use our common sense. Now, if you remember, I had an interview with Jeremy Dunham. He's the developer for Rocket League. If you watch that interview, you remember him saying that Rocket League was developed by 10 people. Now, Rocket League is obviously a smaller game, not huge AAA big budget game. Batman is. So obviously Batman needs a lot more attention. Now, he said a staff of 10 people were working on Rocket League. That's developing everything for it. 10 people. Psyonix is a bigger studio, but only 10 people were actually working on Rocket League, which is a magnificent game, by the way. If you didn't know, you should look up some gameplay that I've played and everything like that. The game's going to be releasing in about 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm plugging the game because I always tell y'all, people want to brush off Rocket League, which is an amazing game, very fun game that works even in beta, but y'all rather support a broken $60 game than a fun game that actually works like Rocket League. But anyway, back to the point. He said that 10 people worked on Rocket League. So it's pretty safe to assume that even though they are not, this outsourced studio, Iron Galaxy, even though they are not developing the game from the ground up, they're not making the game. This staff of 10 people from Psyonix actually made, in its completion, Rocket League. Even though Iron Galaxy is not making the game, I think it's pretty safe to say that to make a PC version, to port it for a AAA game, would take more than 12 people, and it would take more than 2 months. More than 8 weeks. I think that's safe to say, ladies and gentlemen. So it's pretty much fact that the game was outsourced to Iron Galaxy. It's pretty much fact at this point that only 12 people worked on the PC version. The only thing that's absolutely not confirmed yet, that's absolutely not true, but seems to be it seems to be true. We don't have any smoking gun statement directly from Rocksteady or Iron Galaxy, but based on some information that people found on online, I'm gonna try to provide that in the link in the description. The only working on it for 2 months is definitely leaning towards being true. I apologize if y'all hear any background noise, but yeah, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. They treated the PC version like second potato. It didn't get the attention and the manpower and the resources that it should have, and none of this blindsided all of us because they've been so good. All the previous Batman games on PC were dang near flawless as far as frame rate and technical issues. There was like in Origins, there was a game stopping bug, like it stopped your progress, but that was for a side mission. That was like the worst thing that ever came of any PC version of a Batman game. All the rest of them, no problem, ran completely smooth. So when this happened, this was the last thing any of us expected because they had a flawless track record before this. So it blindsided all of us, and it sucks. So now we're just waiting on a patch. Hopefully it comes out soon. They have released a statement that they are aware of the issues. They're working on it with Iron Galaxies. Yeah, it's just crazy that no matter how many times this happens with developers, it's just it doesn't end. It doesn't end. It happens developer after developer, game after game, where the game. You know what I want to know sometimes? Do they know this? Like, I feel like there's no way they didn't know the game was locked at 30 frames. There's no way they didn't know. There's no way this developer didn't know that there were going to be problems at launch, that the game wasn't optimized. They knew this. There's no way. This is not one of those situations where a developer releases a game and they discover some bugs or some issues after launch, right? No, this is one of those things where no, there is no way you didn't know. You just chose to release the game like this and like just throw it to the lions and apparently want to fix it afterwards. That's what happened. There's no possible way you didn't know the game was going to be locked at 30, which is unacceptable for anybody playing on PC. They're gonna call that out. All this stuttering and crashing. There's no way they didn't know. That's what bothers me about this. They knew it wasn't ready. They knew. So I will be waiting until the game is properly patched and fixed to be playing Batman Arkham Knight.